Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to the vlog. Today, we're gonna go to my friend Tom Bilyeu's house. You might have seen him on my podcast. If not, you might have seen him on his own podcast, but he's a really, really inspiring entrepreneur. So today, he hit 100,000 fans on Facebook. So he's doing a 24-hour live stream from his house. So I'm gonna go over there right now. I'm gonna do some sort of guest spot on his live stream. I don't know exactly what it is or what we're gonna be doing, but I know Tom and he does a good job with everything, so I'm sure it'll be good. Let's go do it. Have a good one, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, how are you?
Ready to rock and roll. All right, we've got a new segment coming up now with my boy Drama in the house from Young and Reckless. Built his own company from the ground up. We're really trying to fuck with you on this one, aren't we?
Yeah, what do we do? Yeah.
Let's see, we got a twist.
Okay.
There we go.
Right.
Now you can turn that towards you.
There we go.
There it is.
And am I looking there?
Your camera's this one right here.
All right.
Boom. There it is.
There we are, man. I'm so
so-
honored to be here.
Dude, it's awesome to have you here.
This is great. I've watched all the shows, so I feel like I'm on like one of my favorite TV shows. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I literally, and I told you this on your podcast, I freaked out when they said that you'd asked me to be on your podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. Drama from Young and Reckless Drama?
Yeah, that made me so happy.
Yeah.
That was-
So
yeah.
the cool thing for me, so not only did I watch the Fantasy Factory, but back at Quest when we were really getting social and we were doing because we did Quest Apparel briefly.
Yep,
It's
yep.
now turned into something much more logical.
Yeah.
But at the time we were doing like actual apparel.
Mm-hmm.
And we found your content said this is an example of staying on brand.
Yeah.
Which you've always done an amazing job of.
Yeah, that means a lot because that's literally like probably the one goal of mine that is like the biggest nightmare in my life. Is
Why do you say
trying-
that?
Well, just because it's so important to me, and I would say that if I'm anything, I probably lean most towards a marketing or branding person. And I see the power of Young and Reckless and what we could accomplish if we really hammered home and stayed on brand. So like, it's literally every marketing opportunity, everything that comes across my plate, I just try to I obsess over whether or not it fits and try to make sure that it always does.
Why do you think staying on brand is so important?
Because I literally think that you either do that or you do nothing. And the way when it comes to building a brand, and the way that I explain it a lot to younger people is like, building a brand is almost like building a human being. And you want that human being to be trustworthy and reliable and accountable and all those things. And so imagine if you met somebody and they showed up and they were really funny and quirky and whatever, and you're like, I really like that guy. And the next time they showed up, they were completely different. And the next time you don't trust that person, you don't want to hang out with that person anymore because they're probably a serial killer, right? And so not only are you trying to construct this sort of human being type thing, but you want it to be, you want people to love it and to want to support it and to like it. And I just think I don't know, when I named the brand Young and Reckless, I saw the power that it could potentially have, but it's a gift and a curse because the words mean something.
Right.
So everything you do, people are going to question it automatically whether that is Young and Reckless or not, you know, so.
How do you think about, as you've matured, how do you think about staying true to who you actually are? Or do you think that the brand should in some way represent who you really are?
No, to be honest, I don't think the brand should really. I mean, the brand's values come from my basic values, right? Which is that young people, my goal in life is to encourage young people to sort of break out of the mold. I know you said break out of the matrix, which I love. Break out of the mold and do what they want to do, right? And I think that the education system is very flawed, and I think that the way a lot of people are parented is very flawed, and I think that true happiness or success only comes from breaking out of that and doing what you want to do with your own life, right? So that is how I look at my own life. That's where I think that I found a life that I never thought I would be able to have and been able to find true happiness. So at the foundation of it, it comes from me and who I am. on a surface level, I realized that like my wardrobe is not going to be young and reckless forever. I'm not going to be young forever. I'm not going to know who the hot new rappers are forever, who the hot new artists are. I'm just not. And I think that where a lot of people go wrong is they hold it too close and they try to keep it with them forever. And it's like, it's not, at some point, an 18-year-old kid is not going to want to dress like, this 35-year-old man. So that's where the handoff is for me.
Now, as you get into doing content, which I think is really interesting that you're now doing the podcast, and obviously you and I have talked off camera about finding a way into really giving people usable information. Do you think at all about sort of as this entrepreneur movement happens that you're going to be able to help them, the young and reckless crowd, reckless defined the way that you just defined it, really find their voice and find their ability to succeed in business or in whatever they want to do?
I do, and I'm going to be honest, it wasn't actually like a deep-seated passion of mine to be, and I really hesitate like calling myself any sort of teacher or coach. I'm way more a student, right? But it just kind of so happens that some people know who I am, so I have a bit of a built-in following. Content is obviously bigger than ever, and the entrepreneur thing is bigger than ever. And so what that means to me is there's way more people listening, and there's way more people that have the ability to access what you're saying than ever. So it's almost like, the way I see it is everything's kind of aligning to like, you're stupid if you don't do this, right? But the way that I look at it is, the reason why I do my podcast, for instance, I'm learning from each of those episodes. I'm not teaching. So I'm saying, here are people that used to be young and reckless, and they're the ones that made it. Now let's listen together to how they made it, right? And when I do like a video blog or something, there's my camera filming right there, it's all I'm simply saying is come with me as I try to figure it out, right? I try not to be too preachy or anything like that. And then with Young and Reckless, my job is to spotlight the people in the trenches going through it. Here's a hot new rapper that's really cool, that went through hell to get out of Atlanta, and he just signed a deal with Interscope, and I'm gonna do a spotlight on him. So it's like, here's the next group, here's the people who made it, and here's me going along for the ride. That's kind of how I look at the whole thing.
I love that. And walk us through then, as the learner, how did you pull off what you pulled off? So you obviously, growing up in Ohio, where you're at today is not exactly the most obvious.
No. I mean, literally in this house is probably the polar opposite of Ohio. You know what I'm saying? A Beverly Hills mansion is the polar opposite of where I grew up.
Same with Tacoma, Washington.
There you go. So. That's the beauty of it. What was the question?
So how did you do it? How did you pull it off? How did you end up? You've got this multi-million-dollar brand that you built from scratch. I think there are misconceptions about how you built it. And how seriously you are. I was going to say how seriously you take yourself as an entrepreneur, but you're actually a for real entrepreneur, meaning you run a company. You're not a figurehead. You actually run a company. So
I would say this is, if I could explain kind of how I did it, I guess I would say, because this is why I try to make sure that I keep doing every single day, is I chased opportunity, like viciously chased opportunity. Then I learned once I got there, and then I didn't hesitate to apply it, right? And I think that I still to this day try to balance those things, because if you spend your time learning too much and never acting, you're gonna fail, right? If you spend your time acting, but you're never learning what you're doing, you're gonna fail. If you spend your time chasing opportunity and never doing anything, you're gonna be at best in some famous person's entourage, right? I think that's how those people end up there, because you see opportunity but you never act. My point is,
that's actually really insightful.
That is how, I believe. Unless you grew up with that person or whatever, but here's what, a funny thing happens, and I can tell you firsthand. When you're around success, the same way you say when you dream too hard, you feel it, when you're around success, you really feel it. You really feel like you're I mean, you're waking up in the morning, maybe you're going to some hot Hollywood party, you're waking up in an amazing house, you're going to an award show. Why do the work? You already have all the rewards, and you're so close to it. Except for one day, that person stops being your friend, or it kicks you out, and now you're screwed, and your whole life has no meaning, because now it's like, wait a minute, what happened? What did I really do? So the point is,
so for people that don't know you, how did you end up in a very successful entourage?
Well, so what happened was born and raised in Akron, Ohio. The moment I turned 18, I moved to LA simply because I love skateboarding, and LA is the skateboard capital of the world, but I knew I wasn't going to be a professional skateboarder because, funny enough, I had a really bad traumatic brain injury, which I know that we're big on brain stuff right now.
Really?
Yeah. Was in a coma for 4 days.
What?
Brain bleeding and fractured skull and blood clot in my brain, yeah.
What the fuck happened?
I was leaving a skate park and I went to hop down a set of stairs and I meant to kick my skateboard away, but I landed back on it instead, and I just literally like whiplashed onto my thing and woke up 4 days later.
Whoa!
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
That's
so
terrifying.
that kind of, it wasn't, there wasn't too much long-term like craziness from that, but it definitely like derailed, like the passion for, because after multiple of those you're really screwed. So anyway, point is, so I moved to LA kind of blindly, just following a love for skateboarding. I thought I was probably going to work at a skate shop or something, and my cousin, who was a pro skateboarder at the time, 6 months after I got here, started filming a pilot for a potential MTV show. And to us, that was like, what the hell is that? What does that even mean, right? MTV was so far beyond any of our like expectations. And sure enough, I mean, the long story short of it is the show ends up getting picked up. It's a massive success. It's called Robin Big. I was his real life personal assistant at the time. So I get tied into the show as sort of the whipping boy, sort of a joke, butt of all the jokes assistant.
Right.
And but I will say that at the time there was never a piece of my brain that said I want to be famous or I want to be on TV, or I just knew, once again, this is opportunity. I don't know what it is,
Right.
but I'll take the jokes because there's a better life at the end of this. I'm just not sure what it is yet. So anyway, that happened. That went into a show called Fantasy Factory on MTV. That was the moment where I said, okay, this is my time, right? I've learned now for a few years. I have my plan together. I know what I want to do, and I'm not going to let this marketing opportunity of being on another TV show pass me by. And that's when I really went full steam on my clothing brand. And like, for instance, like I loved being a part of the famous entourage, but I always looked at it as fuel. It was never the end. Like it was cool, but it drove me nuts because I didn't want to work in a mansion all day and then drive back to my studio apartment. I wanted to come over and visit my friend and then go back to my mansion next door.
Right.
And there was never a part of me that was ever tricked that it was mine, but what it did do is it showed me that it was possible. And I watched it happen, and I watched a TV show be made and then become a hit, and I watched brands be made. And so that's what I owe so much to, and that's what I think has turned into a bit of my life goal, right? Is to say, here, watch me, watch this person, watch us, you can do that too. Because I saw what that did for me. That changed my life. I mean, I have family members and friends that were in jail or addicted to drugs or blah, blah, blah. And I truly believe this is a really deep concept, or a really deep statement, but I think a lot of that misery comes from a lack of purpose or belief that you can do it. And so you just spiral. Your brain's really powerful. So it's going to be sitting there thinking all day long. And if you don't have anything to think about or goals or anything, you're going to start popping some pills or smoking a bunch of weed to just calm it down.
Right.
And then, that's where problems come.
That is amazing how aware you were in the process. When it was happening, are you thinking this stuff? Like, one day this goes away, one day the show isn't there anymore, I get kicked out, whatever.
100%. And I don't, not to even sound like, I just knew reality TV was not a career, right? Like, yeah, I knew that. And I think we all know that. And the cool thing was, we never, our show was never about our real lives. It was never dramatic about our dating lives or anything like that. We knew it was just a fun thing. And we used it to market our products and our businesses, and that's about it. But yeah, I was aware that I needed to hurry up quickly and create a real career because that wasn't one. But it was an incredible opportunity to start one.
Right.
And I also knew, that I didn't want to be the entourage. I can't say that necessarily my view was I couldn't probably have said it as clear as I can say it today.
Sure.
But I always felt like it was driving me nuts. Like I always felt like, I don't want to be the third guy in line. I don't want to be the guy that just is the third guy to walk through the door. I want this to be my thing.
What do you say when people are like, nah, man, that's so ego driven? Like, just be appreciative for what you have, drama.
No, I think that's where ego can be taken wrong. And I think that achieving and creating opportunity and an amazing life for yourself and wanting great things and wanting to give people great things and create great things is not ego. I think that had I walked around like I was better than I was at the time, that would have been ego. I acted like I was third in line. Like if you watch Rob and Big, there was no ego in me. Like I was like, sure, this is what I'm gonna do. This is funny. I'm gonna go through this, and one day I'll be able to be in a position where I can be in charge of something. You know?
I have to say, as a religious watcher of the show, and not Rob and Big. I've actually not seen that. But
oh man, you get a kick now that we know each other.
Pretty funny.
You'd see me on that and be like, holy cow.
But watching Fantasy Factory,
yeah,
and seeing like your endless good humor about everything,
yeah,
and then what I found so interesting is what you did after that, and then really building a business. And because there was so much parallel, it was like you were blowing up Young and Reckless as I was trying and failing, by the way, to blow up Quest Apparel.
Yeah.
And so seeing that in there, like you were really becoming an entrepreneur that was able to execute,
yeah,
which is such, like there's no evidence of that in anyone until they do it, right? You can never know that somebody's going to be a successful entrepreneur until they do it. So it's pretty incredible that you were able to make so much out of that.
And I'll say this, I don't like, you know, I questioned it, you know, like this is how it works, right? When you're, sorry to spoiler alert or whatever, if anyone was a super diehard fan, but like there was an episode for my 21st birthday where they shaved the center of my head because they said that I was balding and this is what I was going to look like when I was older, right? So they shaved me like I was a bald old man. I wore a suit, we got on a party bus, we went to Las Vegas and we partied all night for my 21st birthday with me looking like a crazy old man.
Right.
They came to me first and said, hey, we have this idea. We want to shave your head. We want to blah, blah, blah.
Right.
The problem is you look at it and you're like, that's hilarious, right? You know, like that's absolutely we can do that. I'm not, who am I to say, no, I take myself too serious.
Right.
That's too far. I don't think there was hardly any ideas that I ever said were too far. I realized that was my role on the show and I realized it was hilarious. So like, who am I not to do it? And then, you know, you film it and you act like, oh my God, you're shaving my head. This is so crazy. And now I will say, I did 100% worry that it would limit me from being able to ever be taken seriously.
Why do you think it hasn't?
I don't know that it hasn't. I still think it might. I still think that even though, here's the conundrum, even though I wouldn't have had the opportunity to start the business, had I started the business without that history, maybe people would be like, oh my gosh, he is the greatest 30-year-old entrepreneur. This guy is a genius. We're now like, oh, that's drama from the thing. I don't know, but it's all, to me, it's just how you use it. To me, it makes people relate to me much more. It makes people feel like, damn, like I watched him go from this little assistant getting picked on to like he's doing well now. Right. And I think that adds a lot more depth to who I am. So it was my only way in. So I can't question it, or I can't even really spend too much time on it. I think it was my only way in. I think that I played it how I wanted to play it, and I think that it's led to an insane story and something for us to be able to talk about on camera, you know?
To me, this is one of the most important principles of entrepreneurship is waiting for the perfect opportunity is a death sentence. And taking the opportunity that you're presented and then figuring out later how you're going to make the most of it, I think is super smart. So there are countless times where at Quest, at Impact Theory, an opportunity comes up and I'll tell the team, look, this is not the perfect opportunity, but it's an opportunity. And so we're going to take it, we're going to get momentum. And this is where the whole concept, we have this shirt called Momentum Matters. And it's like getting people to understand fucking momentum is everything. And if you can't build momentum with something, with whatever opportunity, then you just...
I agree 1,000,000,000%. And I would say in my own case, like Young and Reckless as a whole was a bit of a piece of momentum, right? Like, I mean, I've always been interested in clothing and I always wanted to make my own business and blah, blah, blah. But like, did I grow up in Akron, Ohio making sketches of streetwear? Because no, I saw the opportunity. I saw that these things were converging and I could use the show to market this product, and it was a good product to do. And then you could send it to Pacific Sunwear, and everything lined up for that one. Keep in mind, I also tried music production. I tried microwave burritos. I've tried a little bit of
Drama's microwave burritos?
Yeah, they're called loudmouth burritos.
Nice.
And it was like pizza flavored, and so I've tried other stuff. This one just worked.
Right.
But my point was, so I followed the momentum, I followed the instincts, I created the brand, it worked, it lined up, and then there was a moment when Young and Reckless became really successful and the show was ending, where I started taking it too serious, and I started saying no to good opportunities because I wanted to protect the brand so closely. And I think that was a big moment for me of learning, like, whoa, don't get too serious here, and still don't forget to follow that flow, because it's not always going to go how you want. It's not going to be perfect. You just have to protect it within the boundaries of protect the brand within the stream of opportunity and keep pushing.
Well said.
It would be my opinion.
All right, we have a fan question. This one comes from Cage Hits. Question on personal branding. The new thing is to be the face of the company and stepping out front, much like Tom is doing here at IT. However, what amps me up is being like Batman in a sense, where you take on this huge role, but you do it all from the shadows. So in business terms, it would be like building a huge business like a Quest, but being able to lead it like Batman, if that makes sense. Would love both of your opinions.
My opinion is that sounds really cool, and I would love to do that too. But I don't believe that it works as well. I don't believe there's a plan on how to do it. I believe that you're relinquishing a lot of control up to just the universe. And I'm just a firm believer. Sure, I'd love to live in some weird mystery $100 million mansion and pull the strings from my MacBook. Right. But it's not, there's no plan of action there. There's a plan of action to get out front, talk about what the brand is, talk about what you care about, and I don't know. That's why I like the idea of it, but I can't see a way to do it. I'd rather attack and be up front.
Yeah. So first I'll say that Batman's company is called Wayne Enterprises. So let's start with that. And I think that in any other time in history, I would have been in the background. And any other time in history, I think that I wouldn't be able to succeed to the level that I have because my innate personality, the things that I love, and by innate I mean that I've spent since the time that I was a kid fanning these flames of, focusing on my compassion and team building and all those things, which I did get early resonance with, and so that's what I love doing, building community, being inclusive, like those are all things that I like. And pre-social media, you could be rewarded for that. Taking care of the customer never used to be the most empowering marketing vehicle you could possibly ask for. It was always good, but it was always a long play, right? It would take 10 years for your reputation to get out there. And in the startup world, that's a huge financial investment to make to hope to reap the rewards in 10 years, which is why so few companies did that in the past, and why so many companies are doing it now, because social media allows you to, when you're good to somebody, unintentionally they will spread the word, or when you're bad to somebody, they will unintentionally spread the word. So we're living through an era where I think as an entrepreneur, if you're not looking at the tools that are available to you and taking advantage of those, you're just being a fool. So if you don't have that skill set, then don't do it. And if you don't want to build that skill set, don't do that. But I would say you need somebody in the company that can, because this is how people engage with brands and content. Also, forget about millennials for a second. Start looking at Gen Z. Gen Z is going to demand that you tell them who you are.
You're going to need a live camera on your face at all
essentially,
times.
Right? And if for no other reason than they really want to know, like, are you supporting people? Are you helpful? Are you inclusive? Are you empowering people? Like, it's what they care about. So if you understand that that's your consumer, that's what they care about, and you need to build a company that is going to give them something that they feel is valuable, not that you think is valuable, but they think is valuable, you're going to have to do that. So like you, I would have much rather been in the background, and for at least 2 years before I started stepping out front at Quest, my marketing department was heckling me to do it. And they're like, dude, you've got to step out. They want to do a reality show. Like, we were growing so fast. They're like, this is so unprecedented. We could get somebody to cover this. I was like, absolutely not. No way. I have no interest in stepping out front. And it wasn't until it was just getting so obvious that it was the most powerful marketing vehicle, and that things were moving away from the traditional way people thought of social media to now personal branding. That
I think in a few years it won't even be looked at as a strategy. It's a necessity. Like, it's like saying I wish I could have a really, really big company, but just not have to worry about a silly little customer service department. Right. It's like, I know that would be cool, but I just don't think, and I don't know anyone personally who has chosen the strategy of being mysterious and it's paid off in any way. I think that it just appears that way in some companies, but it's not.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
All right, so we've got a giveaway. We're going to be giving away Young and Reckless swag.
Oh, yeah,
and for as much fun as you guys made of me, let's get this bad boy over here.
So we have a bag.
Nice. So is it the bag and everything in
Yeah,
it?
heck yeah.
Nice. So we've got dope hat, got some shirts, got the backpack.
Hoodie.
Nice. Look at that. Ooh, went all the way to a hoodie. All right, and the question here is, what episode number of the Short Story Long podcast was Tom on?
I like
What
that.
number of the Short Story Long podcast, which is Drama's podcast, was I on? All right, drop that in, and you can win all this amazing Young and Reckless swag, which we will put in our little gifty spot here. All right, and I think we had another question.
Yeah. This is fun.
Here we go. This is from Tina Colbert. Drama. Before the accident coma, did you always think this way? Real with yourself. Perspective about ego.
It's really funny. That's a funny question because that's something that my cousin Rob makes fun of me for a lot. Is like, he's like, man, you were kind of dopey before you had that head injury, and you just woke up an entrepreneur, right?
Really?
But it's a joke. I think obviously I think about it a lot, and I'm reading.
How old were you?
18.
Whoa.
And I'm reading Phantoms in the Brain right now, the Ramachandran book. And did I say that right?
Yeah.
And there's all this stuff about brain injuries and all the effects that it can have. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, was I the same? Did I really think this way? The honest answer is yes. I think, to be honest, I personally don't think anything is different. Nobody that I know has honestly said anything is different. The only thing that it did was, for years, it gave me really bad anxiety, because what happened was I had a blood clot in my brain and I couldn't leave. So that happened in July. I was trying to move to California. I had to keep going back and getting CAT scans over and over and over every month to see if the blood clot had went away. And finally, by November, they said, look, it still hasn't went away, but we're not going to keep you here. You can move if you want. So I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. But they said, like, there's a very, very, very serious chance that you could have seizures, that you could have, repeating issues. So I literally, when I first moved to LA, I was a little anxious anyway, but anytime I would feel like even slightly lightheaded, I'd be like, here it comes. I'm having a stroke and a seizure all at the same time. I'd be like, it's over. So it gave me this sort of lingering weird anxiety of like something terrible is gonna happen to you at any moment,
right,
that I had to get over. But that was it. It didn't turn me into Superman, unfortunately.
That is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that's like really scary.
Yeah.
Like that's a for real brain injury. Something that knocks you out for 5 minutes is terrifying.
Yeah, it
Something
was
knocks you
bad.
out for 4 days.
It was bleeding brain back here, and then I had a concussion in the back, and then in the front from it bouncing back forward, and then the blood clot was from the skull fracture. It was weird. The weirdest thing is you wake up 4 days later and like your fingernails are longer and your facial hairs, and it just feels, because you're like, what is going on?
Wow.
Like these things happen that you don't think about.
What was that moment like? I mean, that's like out of the fucking movies.
I'm gonna be honest, as best as I can remember, it was sort of this like you knew something happened. It wasn't like, where am I? Get me out of here. And it also wasn't like, I heard you talking the whole time. It was just sort of like, you knew that something happened, but you didn't know what or where, because I don't remember. All I remember is eating breakfast that morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't remember the whole
So the
day.
rest is people telling you about it.
Yes, and so I was the filmer for the group, right? I was the camera guy. And so I went home, there's a couple stories. I went home and I looked at my camera and I'm like, who filmed all this stuff? And they're like, you did. And I didn't remember, and I'm talking and I'm doing all this stuff and I don't remember any of it.
That would be weird.
Crazy. And then I also, when I woke up, I couldn't taste food at all. I had zero taste. I couldn't read. And I also remember I went home and all I would do was be on my computer because I was editing skate videos. I just love my little computer. And I went on, I remember I clicked on Safari on the browser and I didn't know how to work it. Like I couldn't figure out how to operate.
How long after the accident?
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm screwed forever. That was, well, so 4 days, we'll say in a coma, maybe 2 days in the hospital, and then I got home the next day, so a week after.
Whoa.
But I couldn't lay on my left side. I couldn't sleep on my left side because I would feel like I was going to throw up. Like there was just all these weird little things, but they just...
Has that all gone?
I still don't sleep on my left side, but I don't know if it's because of that or not.
Really?
Yeah. But
wow.
Yeah, but I can, everything else, I haven't noticed any longer term side effects.
Dude, you got so lucky.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
Now
thing
when I'm
that
reading that
scares
book,
me,
I'm like,
right?
holy cow, I dodged 7 bullets.
Oh my God. The brain damage and losing my wife, those are my two fears.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Bye, man. Thank you.
Take care.
That's great.